morning. We are live on day 2 of Advertising Week from the LinkedIn Hub. And as promised, we are bringing you the best and the brightest. And this morning, I've got one of the best and the brightest with me. And we've got Gayle Fuguitt, who is the CEO and president of the Advertising Research Foundation. Gayle, good morning.
Good morning.
I know you're doing a couple of different panels, and some of them with exciting names like Game of Media Thrones, which raises a whole bunch of questions in my mind. But what I want to start with is, just talking about ARF. ARF has been doing research for 80 years, you told me.
Yes, we're turning 80.
Oh, we're turning 80. Okay. Well, ARF doesn't look a day over 40. So, but anyway, I want to start. We were talking about how way back in the beginning they used to monitor window displays.
Exactly.
And then moved into the television world, and then everything went to the wind once we got all the digital stuff. But I think that one of the things, and the Game of Media Thrones panel comes in, is the challenge of measurement. And I know you had a lot to say about that, because it's not just about measuring how many and so on, but also just about the experience, right? So let's talk about that a little.
Exactly. Look, if you think about measuring the consumer's connection to media, it's gone so much farther than television, and the opportunity through big data and through consumer connected devices, right? Mm-hmm. And the Internet of Things. One of the big topics of that week actually is to be able to connect with the consumer and actually push messages to them in the right place at the right time, and to be able to target the right message. The opportunity with measurement is really much bigger than that in terms of insights and being consumer focused around what are consumers' needs, what are their values, and how do you translate those values into brand value. So it's not about just counting clicks and likes and thumbs ups, and those are really important. That helps guide you to, if you think of a big metal detector, it guides you to scale and the size of opportunities. But then if you really want to build brands, and we know brands are built in the brain. We know that from doing neuroscience. If you really want to get literally the consumer's heart to beat faster, then the opportunity is to really go and make that full-on consumer connection.
I think you brought up a really important point, which I also wanted to talk to you about, which was relevance scale. It seems like it's all now about contextual relevance. And, are brands really living up to that, in the sense that, making things not just a nice to have, but more of something, imperative or more like a must have? So I want to talk about that in relation to the idea that you build a brand in the brain, which is another one of your panels.
Sure. So we believe that, and we've proven that brands are built in the brain through neuroscience, original neuroscience research. At the ARF, we do original and curated research. We have over 60,000 documents from our 80 years. Yeah. And so as we've done this neuroscience work, we understand that advertising works. It works today, and also that when you add biometric measures, that you're able to actually understand and tap for even further sales growth and predict sales better with consumers. The way it connects to contextual relevance is really, I think brands today are struggling because I think they're maybe more in that traditional model that they were in when I grew up at General Mills. I was there for over 30 years, which is push, right? I have a message, I have my story about my product, I have my product attributes, and I'm going to tell you what they are. And then you're going to go to the store and you're going to buy it.
And you're going to say, yes, this one cleans my clothes better, or this one, has more whatever. So yeah,
features, right? So AT&T is one of our member companies. They've done a lot meta-analysis on all of their advertising. They call it phone porn, right? And consumers do not like phone porn. They do not like to actually hear about the features on their phone. It's not the phone porn that you think. It's right.
I wasn't going.
I know. Well, it's a little early, but
it's a little early in the day. If this was
we're
an
in Times Square, come on.
Maybe okay.
But what they found is that, a little bit of humor and actually making a personal connection to consumers actually makes that all of the complexity of their iPhone or their phone more approachable and simpler and easier for them. And so if you think back to what does that consumers need, it's to simplify their life. It's to feel smart when they get out their phone, right? Not to feel like I don't even know how to turn it off, right?
Like my mom, although she'd be mad at me, what do I do with it?
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I think that that's also a big question. There seems to be a shift, and I've been speaking to people, and one of the people I interviewed yesterday, they're doing this thing where it actually measures the emotional responses that you have when you watch video content, which blows my mind. Like, it can actually tell you. And I think that the big shift is going from the I'm going to interrupt what you're watching to rationally tell you how great my product is, to making sure that you have an emotional reaction that then associates that emotional reaction with the brand. So then the key becomes, how do you create that kind of content? And thinking about custom content, like, so many people, so many marketers feel like that is the way of the future, but not nearly as many people think that we're actually executing, or that they're actually executing a good strategy for that. So where's the discrepancy, and how do we close that gap?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's like it's what's old is new again, and it's simple, but the simplest things are the hardest to do, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, everyone's familiar with focus groups, right?
Right, of course.
The one with mirror.
With the mirror, right?
So
like
you
in
gotta
Mad Men,
get rid of the mirror.
Okay.
You take the mirror down, and you actually get in the room with the consumer, right? So you get in the room with the consumer, and you invite the consumer to help you create.
Really?
And the best companies are getting in the room with consumers. Heineken is an example of a member company that actually created a whole new featured, bar kind of experience.
That sounds like a fun focus group.
There
How can
you
I
go,
get in on that?
Right? where they had consumers actually build the brand for them. They had consumers tell them, would this be what Heineken would look like? Is this what, if you were going to go and have this experience, would you go? And is this something that you would recommend to a friend? That's also, a good way to connect. Bringing friends in and having friends, coming in pairs, and a lot of these are very old traditional kinds of techniques, but it's really inviting the consumer to co-create. And if you think about, it's kind of wisdom of crowds, right? Think about mobile phone and how that enables, and with gamification, all the wonderful opportunities to take actual consumer behavior, all the time they're spending on games. There's a Facebook program going on right now, right? And they're talking about consumers and their apps. So if you think about taking that actual consumer behavior and translating it over to play a game with us as a brand. Don't play our brand game. So it's not pushing your brand game. It's saying play a game with us to build an experience for you that you would actually be interested in partaking in and inviting people to.
So let's talk very briefly about mobile. Obviously, mobile is such a big deal, and it's continuing to grow. And as you're seeing, having gone from window displays to television to now all the all the mobile devices, how do you think it's still possible from a kind of a more outside perspective, more of a research perspective? Do you think it's possible to give consumers a relevant experience on mobile without being intrusive? Because it's such a personal device, and you have such a personal experience with your mobile phone.
Yeah, I think mobile plays a lot of different roles in consumers' lives. It's a navigator sometimes. It's a connector with your friends. It's an intelligence seeker, right? And then there is a role for push. Push to receive. So if you think back to, my experience in traditional marketing, way back in the dark ages, right? If you think back to that was one way. That's push marketing, right? Then there was pull marketing, or consumers were like, "Excuse me, I have a voice," right? And they're calling up on the 800 number, or they're sending you an internet message. Really, the opportunity is a three-way conversation now, because consumers are so connected to each other on the mobile device. The opportunity for brands is to connect to that third the most relevant conversation, which is consumers to each other.
Right, so injecting yourself in the conversation rather than trying to interrupt the conversation.
Listening, right?
Yeah.
Like listening for insights.
So lastly, you talked a little bit about Heineken and about AT&T. What are some brands that you think are really succeeding at delivering relevance to scale?
Yeah, look, I think Heineken is definitely. I think we have a lot of member companies that are. Unilever is doing some very, very interesting work in the area of sustainable health and building global brands. There's certainly the Dove campaign is, there's some really iconic imagery. The work that Under Armour's doing, I had a chance to connect with the folks from Under Armour yesterday, it's challenging paradigms, challenging social norms in terms of what you maybe thought that wearable was versus what brand they're trying to build. I love fashion. I think Net-a-Porter is really, it does it well. I don't think they push. I'll tell you, I had the great gift of going to Cuba about 3 years ago when I retired. It was fabulous.
Dying to go.
And so I bought my husband a pair of white linen Cuba Vera pants, and I am still getting push messages like almost every week when I like to buy some white linen Cuba Vera pants, and I'm like, I wish I could, but not a lot of need for all those. But my personal experience with Net-a-Porter is they're pretty good at they don't assault you with the push. It's customized, like here's something you might like, and they just, I don't know, a lot of it's on the backdrop of their algorithm, right?
Right.
Facebook, I think, is really understands. Like if you think about what's in common with every one of these brands, they understand their consumer.
They get it.
Right?
They really
LinkedIn.
get it. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I'm a kind of a heavy user, and I use it on my own terms, though. I think that's the compliment, is, that a brand will understand their consumer intimately, and I love that term, consumer intimacy, by listening and then
I like
responding.
that. Got to make a note of that one, consumer intimacy. I like it. I love these catchphrases that I have been getting today. Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Good luck with all the interesting debates you're going to be having. I know you've got some tough ones.
Thank you. We have the C-suite mobilizes tomorrow, so we're going to have all the measurement CEOs on the stage at the same time. Right?
Wow, that's interesting. All right. Well, good luck with everything, and thank you so much for sitting down with us, Gayle.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.